January, 9 BC. The air is so cold it feels like broken glass in the lungs. A man stands on the bank of a river that shouldn't matter. It's called the Rubicon. It's barely a stream. A child could jump across it, but for Gaius Julius Caesar, this is the edge of the observable universe. If he crosses, he's a traitor, a dead man walking. If he stays, he's a failure, a forgotten footnote. Most history books tell you this was the moment a great man chose to become a god. They're lying. This wasn't a choice. It was a psychological collapse. Welcome to Psyche of Power. Today, we dissect the point of no return. To understand the crossing, you have to understand the trap. Caesar wasn't marching toward Rome. He was running away from a cage. The Senate had a legal leash around his neck. The second his command ended, he would be sued into bankruptcy and executed. This is the first psychological layer, the sunk cost of survival. Caesar had spent 9 years killing millions in Gaul. He had built a mountain of sunk costs. When we have invested our entire identity into a path, our brain stops looking for right or wrong. It only looks for continuation. He wasn't a leader here. He was a captive of his own followers. If he backed down, he lost his only protection, the 13th Legion. This is what psychologists call path dependency. Every victory in Gaul had narrowed his future options until only one remained: war. History frames this as a decision. Psychology frames it as hyperbolic discounting. We value the immediate over the distant. Caesar chose the risk of a civil war tomorrow to avoid the certainty of a trial today. For hours, he sat in silence. The great man was experiencing a neurochemical deadlock. His rival, Pompey, thought he knew Caesar. He thought Caesar was rational. That was Pompey's fatal mistake. Enter the first rare concepti, learned helplessness turned into reactive aggression. When a high-status individual is stripped of their agency, they don't submit. They break the system. 3 minutes in, and here is our first cognitive reversal. Caesar didn't cross the Rubicon because he was powerful. He crossed it because he was terrified of being ordinary. Act 2, the Rubicon Model. Why the die is cast is the most dangerous sentence ever spoken. Psychology has a specific name for this moment. It's the Gollwitzer Rubicon Model. Before you make a choice, your brain is deliberative. You are open-minded, weighing pros and cons. You are objective. But once the Rubicon is crossed, physically or mentally, the brain shifts into the implementational phase. In this state, the mind shuts down all doubt. It becomes a heat-seeking missile. Information that contradicts the goal is filtered out. This explains his famous quote, "Ali acta est," the die is cast. It's a gambler's phrase, but Caesar wasn't gambling. He was using a linguistic trick to bypass his own conscience. Consider the cognitive dissonance theory by Leon Festinger, but applied to treason. To live with the fact that he was destroying his country, Caesar had to believe that his country was already dead. He didn't cross the river to change Rome. He crossed the river to change his identity. The point of no return is a psychological relief. Once you decide, the stress of what if vanishes. This is the certainty effect. Humans prefer a certain bad outcome over an uncertain good one. By declaring war, Caesar attained a peace of mind that his political enemies couldn't understand. While Caesar was in the implementational phase, the Senate was still deliberating. They were slow. He was a force of nature. Speed is a psychological weapon. Caesar understood that if you move fast enough, people assume you have a plan, even if you're just improvising. He took Italy in weeks, not because he had more men. He didn't. But because he had more psychological momentum. Here is the second reversal. The die is cast isn't a statement of fate. It's a psychological shield against the crushing weight of responsibility. But what happens when the implementational phase never ends? Act 3. The neurobiology of ruin and the God complex. Success is a neurochemical toxin. We need to talk about the winner effect. Biologist John Coates found that winning increases testosterone and dopamine, which increases the appetite for risk. But there is a tipping point. Too much winning causes the power paradox. Studies by Dr. Keltner show that high power reduces the brain's mirror neuron activity. You literally lose the ability to empathize or read the room. Caesar thought he was the master of the Rubicon. In reality, the Rubicon had mastered him. He became cognitively blind. He couldn't see the daggers because he had convinced himself he was the only real person in the room. He stopped being Gaius Julius. He became Caesar. A psychological construct that was too big for a human body. This leads us to the final rare concept, the Icarus deception of pathological certainty. Once you cross the Rubicon, you lose the ability to turn back, even when there's a cliff in front of you. He died on the floor of the Senate, at the feet of a statue of Pompey, the very man he thought he had outrun. The tragedy isn't that he died. The tragedy is that he thought he was free the moment his feet touched that water. But this isn't just about Rome. It's about you. We all have our Rubicons, that career move, that relationship, that point of no return. Your brain is lying to you right now. It's telling you that once you decide, the hard part is over. But the implementational phase is a prison. It gives you focus, but it takes away your sight. The Rubicon is a hallucination. The die is never truly cast. We just say that because we are too tired to keep thinking. Caesar didn't change the world. He just broke the scale of what one man's ego could do to it. As the philosopher Amos Yaurin suggested, to exist is to act, and to act is to betray all other possibilities. He crossed because he couldn't bear the version of himself that didn't. The point of no return is where history is made, but it's also where humanity is lost. Final reversal. The most hardcore thing Caesar could have done was to stay on the other side, to remain ordinary in the face of extraordinary pressure. That is the ultimate power. But Caesar wasn't that strong. None of us are. We are all just looking for a reason to stop thinking and start marching. This has been the Psyche of Power. If you found this autopsy of Caesar's mind valuable, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button. Become a regular in this arena of the mind. Because history isn't about what happened. It's about why we keep letting it happen. Next time, we go deeper. We look at the psychology of the betrayer. Why did the man who loved Caesar kill him? It wasn't for Rome. It was for something much darker. Until then, Watch your rivers. And watch your implementational mind. Before you say the die is cast, ask yourself who is really throwing the dice. Is it you, or is it your fear? The Rubicon is only as deep as your ego. History is a mirror. What do you see? Power is the psyche. The rest is just noise.